So Vicki, tell me what our thoughts are right now at Redstone about the wearing of masks.
So I have my mask on, as you'll see, and I wanted to kind of demonstrate what it should look like. It's got to cover your nose and your mouth to be effective. One of the pieces of scientific literature that I've seen this week show that masks are actually much more effective than originally thought. You might have heard some things in the beginning of the pandemic about do masks work or do they not, but studies are finding that they are working in preventing the spread of COVID-19. Why they work is because, as you can see from my mask, it covers up any droplets that I may have from my nose or my mouth, which is how COVID-19 is spread. If I didn't have this mask on, when I take it off, and I'm in my office by myself, so it's relatively safe, but everything that I'm saying, I'm talking, if I would sneeze, if I would cough, those droplets go on whatever's in front of me, and they stay there for a few days in COVID-19. So that's why it's important to wear that mask when you're in public, because you're protecting everybody else. Remember, it's not about you for the mask, it's about everybody else. And that's how, as Redstone, we're able to keep COVID-19 out of our buildings. And that's how, honestly, as a country, we'll be able to stop it.
Excellent. Okay, great. So we're moving to yellow on Friday. What do you think moving to yellow will mean for our employees? What advice do you have to offer us as we move to yellow?
So as we move to yellow, I actually came across a quote from Fred Rogers this week, and I know many of you know Fred Rogers. He's a local guy who was with us for some great years. But he said, we live in a world in which we share responsibility. It's easy to say, it's not my child, it's not my community, it's not my world, it's not my problem. Then there are those who see the need and respond. I consider those people my heroes. That made me think of all the employees at Redstone, because we haven't just shown up for work, but we've sacrificed, all of you have sacrificed in your own personal lives as well. And I think it's because you have in the back of your mind your responsibility to the hundreds of vulnerable elders that we serve every day. That doesn't change just because we moved to yellow. Moving to yellow means we still have that responsibility. We still have to consider that. That's why it's important to wear your mask. Practice social distancing when you're out and about. I'm thrilled that we're moving to yellow. I think it's a great step towards green. However, it doesn't really change how we need to be responsible for the things that we do outside of work, because we bring those into work. So just think about that when you're out there and you're starting to kind of reopen your life. Remember that people are still counting on you here to be responsible, to be social distancing, to wear that mask, to provide good infection control habits. Wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. And really just remember that residents are still counting on you, whatever color of uplight we get to.
So Vicki, when you're out driving and you come to a yellow light, do you go faster or do you slow down?
So if you ask my husband that, he would tell you that I go faster, but I do slow down. It's funny, I've been thinking of that analogy a lot lately when I come to a yellow light, and it does make me think that it does mean just go really slow. On the Leading Edge National call a week or so ago, I heard one of the leaders of Leading Edge National say it needs to be slow and it needs to be strategic and it needs to be methodical. So that's what we're working towards. We have worked really hard to get to where we are. I mean, we are almost 10 weeks into this pandemic without a case at Redstone, and that is a huge accomplishment, and it's to the credit of everyone who works here. It's certainly not my credit, it's not John's credit, it's everybody who works here practicing all the infection control guidelines that we put out, and just kind of following through in their own personal lives. So that, again, we need to just slowly move into the yellow phase.
Awesome. So I think we have residents and families wondering what yellow will mean for them. Could you speak a little as to what yellow will mean for our residents?
Sure, I can try. So we have a clinical coronavirus task force, which is the clinical leadership from around the organization that has been meeting daily via calls or Zoom meetings since the pandemic started. We have been carefully and cautiously looking at how do we start to kind of reopen or unwind some of the restrictions. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean a lot in yellow, or fortunately, I guess, because we're still in a pretty good situation. We still won't be able to have visitors. We still are going to encourage that independent living residents don't leave the campus. We are still hesitantly stepping into reopening things like the bistro. You'll see that reopening soon. We're also looking at how can we maybe start allowing some residents to dine together in very small groups with a whole different look to those dining rooms, a whole different set of practices that will come forward. Beauty salons are not open until green in the governor's plan, so we're holding on that until green. And honestly, our nursing home and our personal care homes, we are waiting for Department of Health guidelines on what the different colors mean or how we move into those steps. But the Department of Health and the Department of Human Services have said absolutely no visitors until at least green.
Great. So you've kind of got some outside voices giving some guidance to what the Redstone leadership team is doing.
We do, and we always
Awesome.
have. We've been very, very diligent in listening to CDC guidelines, Department of Health guidelines, Department of Human Service guidelines, and CMS, Centers for Medicare Medicaid Service guidelines from a federal perspective.
Great. So Vicki, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you just kind of tell us what this has been like for you over the last
Lisa.
2 months? I know.
So, you know, it's been like, I feel like we stepped into a different reality, like an alternate reality, which I think I had someone from Leading HPA ask me, what are the silver linings? And there have been a lot of those silver linings, some of which have been all of the team members at Redstone, the sense of teamwork, and the I think what impresses me the most is that they just keep showing up. You know, I know that everyone's scared. We've all been scared. You know, your grocery shopping, I think, has been the most traumatic thing for me through all this. I can't believe the changes in that. And I think just a sense of really wanting to protect, almost like wrapping a shield around our Redstone buildings and doing everything in our power to protect our residents, even when it's not been popular. You know, the support of the residents, the support of their families, the support of the team for all the actions that we've taken, and the tolerance of the team for all the changes that have come. I mean, those changes from federal and state agencies were coming sometimes by the hour. We have made the best decisions we can every moment of the journey. And then there's been that sense of, wow, I'm glad I'm at Redstone, because there are other places that I think haven't fared as well. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to work with everyone on this team. I've enjoyed the camaraderie with folks that hasn't always been there. You know, we found ourselves in conference rooms side by side for days on end, and we found ourselves working on the weekend and into the night, and Zoom meetings at 10 o'clock at night just to keep everybody focused. And I so appreciate the team's willingness to do that. Never once did I have to ask someone, get on this call, get on this meeting. Everybody just volunteered and jumped in and provided everything. So a lot of positive stories through this. And I think, it'll be a new reality for a while, but it will land us at a better place eventually.
Great. Well, we thank you for your leadership too, Vicki, and thanks for taking a few minutes to chat with us today. And on behalf of everybody at Redstone, we wish you well in this continued adventure, I guess we'll call it. So thanks.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.